This is, I'm Lead Administrative Law Judge Sarah Hosey. No, not yet. Sorry. Thank you. I'm just going to go over a few things and then I'll let you know. Thank you. This is the appeal of Western Distributing Company and its non-resident shareholders. Thank you for joining us today. Before we go on the record, I will go over a couple announcements and recap where we are in the appeal following our pre-hearing conference. And then we'll go on the record and both parties will have an opportunity to present, and our hearing reporter will begin transcribing. Our hearing reporter, Maria Parkinson, is present and reporting this hearing verbatim. To ensure we have an accurate record, we ask that each person speak one at a time and avoid speaking over one another. Also speak clearly and loudly. When needed, Ms. Parkinson or any panel member will interject to ensure proper transcription. After the hearing, we will produce the official hearing transcript, which will be available on our Office of Tax Appeals website. Today's proceedings are also being live streamed. The transcript and video recording are part of the public record and will be posted on our website under hearings. If at any time you are confused as to the process or if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me for clarification. Again, I'm the lead judge for the purpose of this hearing, but all three judges on this panel are co-equal decision makers. I want to remind today's participants and viewers that the Office of Tax Appeals is an independent appeals body staffed by tax expert. OTA does not engage in any ex parte communications with either party, and our decision will be based on the arguments and evidence provided by the parties on appeal in conjunction with an appropriate application of the law. The panel has read the briefs and examined the exhibits in preparation for today's hearing, and we look forward to your presentations today and tomorrow, I guess I should say both. Okay, so for the exhibits we discussed at the pre-hearing conference, appellants 1 through 19 and respondents A through V. I saw there was a new submission that I wanted to go over before we go on the record. The Franchise Tax Board submitted W, X, Y, and Z. Is that accurate, Mr. Havens?
Yes, Judge, that's correct.
Okay. And the appellants received those documents?
Yes.
Okay, and did you have any objections to those exhibits?
We object to them on relevance grounds.
No, it's okay. Sorry, go ahead.
We object to them on relevance grounds.
And Franchise Tax Board, do you have a response to those?
Yes, Judge, the appellants at various points have represented that legal matters were handled at an arm's length distance. We have evidence that the appellant, specifically Vieri Gaines, was directly involved in litigation on behalf of the divisions of WDC before and after the year's issue.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let them in, but you could please raise your arguments as if they're referenced during the hearing, and we'll consider that, and when we make our decision, we'll enter those exhibits into the record shortly. As for our witnesses today, we discussed 2 witnesses testifying. Is that still the plan today,
Yes.
appellants?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Vieri Gaines and Mr. Sterling Guadagni?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. This is just a reminder, you may have the witness testify in the narrative or ask questions. So as for the order of the hearing, just before we begin, we'll start with an opening from appellants. Is that still the plan?
Yes.
And then Franchise Tax Board, did you still plan to waive your opening?
Yes, Judge.
Okay, then we'll go into the testimony. Did you plan to call, who did you plan to call first?
Mr. Guadagni.
Guadagni? Okay, then we'll swear in Mr. Guadagni and we'll have his testimony. We'll most likely, I'm gonna try and take a break, about an hour and a half. I was gonna see how things went with the testimony. And then we'll have time for questions from the Franchise Tax Board, if any, and then from the panel, if any. And then we'll see how our time frame is, and then go from there. So if there's any questions, please let me know.
What time do we finish this morning?
We'll finish by noon today.
Thank you.
There's another hearing, but I think begins at 1 o'clock.
Perfect.
Okay. Any other questions before we begin? All right, panel ready? We're ready? Okay. We're now on the record. This is the hearing for the consolidated appeals of Western Distributing Company and its non-resident shareholders. This is OTA parent case number 230914432 et al. Today is March 17th, 2026, and it is 9:13 a.m. We're currently in Sacramento, California. I am lead administrative law judge Sarah Hosey, and with me today are Judge Veronica Long and Judge John Johnson. Can I have the parties identify themselves for the record, please, starting with appellants?
Good morning. My name is Edwin Antolin. I am counsel for the appellants. And with me this morning is Mr. Vieri Gaines. He is the CEO of Western Distributing Company and one of the shareholders. And also Sterling Guadagni, who is a manager at Western Distributing and runs their beverage distribution business.
Oh, sorry, can you move it a little closer to you? You kind of have to be right on top of it. Okay, thank you and welcome. Moving to the Franchise Tax Board.
Good morning. My name is Ken Havens for the Franchise Tax Board, and my colleague will introduce herself.
Hello, Katie Frank, also with the Franchise Tax Board.
Thank you. Thank you. As stated in the minutes and orders, the issues on appeal today are: 1, whether Western Distributing Company's divisions operated as a unitary trade or business for the 2010 taxable year. 2, whether Western Distributing Company was required to use the trucking company regulations at Regulation Section 25137-11 to source Western Distributing Company's business income. And does that regulation create a separate apportionable tax base for trucking activities? 3, whether appellants have shown that the standard apportionment formula unfairly represents Western Distributing Company's California business activities, and that appellant's alternative apportionment formula is reasonable. 4, whether the individual shareholders of Western Distributing Company are subject to tax on the business income pursuant to Regulation Section 17951-4. Number 5, whether appellants have shown cause for penalty abatement, and 6, whether appellants are entitled to interest abatement. As for exhibits, we marked exhibits 1 through 19 for appellants and A through Z for respondent Franchise Tax Board. Exhibits 1 through 19 and A through Z are now admitted as evidence into the record. We're going to move to opening statements, starting with appellants.
Thank you, Your Honors, and good morning. So as you noted, there are 6 issues at issue here in this appeal. The main issue is whether the gain from the sale of the beer distribution rights may be taxed by California, whether any portion of that gain may be taxed by California. That gain cannot be taxed by California. The beverage distribution rights that were sold had nothing to do with California. Those rights related to a business that operated solely within Colorado, had no right to distribute outside of the geographic location in Colorado, and could not legally sell outside of Colorado. The beverage distribution business was not licensed to sell any alcoholic beverages in California. FDB claims it can tax a portion of those gains, claiming that Western Distribution Company's beverage distribution business and the interstate transportation business operated a unitary business. And what does the FTB point to for this unitary business? They claim that there was centralized management, functional integration, and a vertically integrated business. But those claims are mere threads. The connections are extremely thin and typical of what you would find in any type of corporate parent and division organization. The FTB misreads the facts and misunderstands what the actual facts are. The modest connections that the FTB relies upon are not the type of integration that courts have found constitute a unitary business. And then most recently, just before the hearing, the FTB put in additional exhibits that it claims support its view that there is a unitary business. It put into evidence 3 declarations signed by Mr. Gaines, the CEO, that relate to federal court removal actions. And in those declarations, Mr. Gaines stated that the principal place of business of Western Distribution Company was in Colorado. The purpose of those removal declarations is to establish diversity jurisdiction in federal court. It has nothing to do with state tax or unitary tax issues. To establish diversity jurisdiction in federal court, the 2 parties, the plaintiff and the defendant, have to establish that they are citizens of different states. And under the law for a corporation, it is viewed by the federal law to be a citizen where it is incorporated or a citizen in the state where its principal place of business is located, which the federal courts have said means, where is your headquarters? That is simply what those declarations establish, that this corporation was headquartered in Colorado. It establishes nothing related to the issues relevant here, and that is, was there centralized management? Was there integration of the beverage and the transportation business? Was there vertical integration? That law that establishes diversity jurisdiction has nothing to do with those issues, and our view is that those declarations are entirely irrelevant. We have submitted declarations from 8 witnesses attesting to the separateness of the business. And all of that establishes very clearly that the businesses did not operate as a unitary business. They were separately managed, they had separate operations, they did not rely on each other for their business. We have brought 2 witnesses today, the CEO, Mr. Vieri Gaines, and the manager of the beverage distribution business during the year at issue, Mr. Sterling Guadagni. You have their testimony already, but we want you to hear firsthand from them and also give you an opportunity to ask them questions. They will confirm that the beverage distribution business and the transportation businesses were not engaged in a unitary business. They operated separately. And because there was no unitary business, the beverage business gains from the sale of the distribution rights cannot flow through to the shareholders under Regulation 1751-4. It is not apportionable business income. And alternatively, if the gain could be apportioned, we have also raised the issue of the FTB's application, or we would say misapplication, of the trucking regulation 25-137-11, whether the standard apportionment formula fairly represents the activities in California, and whether interest and penalties should be abated. Thank you.
Thank you. Just confirming with Franchise Tax Board that you're waiving your opening statement?
Yes, Judge, that's correct.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and move to testimony. You wanted to call Mr. Guadagni first?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and swear in Mr. Guadagni. Can you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Please begin when ready, Mr. Antolin.
Thank you. Mr. Guadagni, please describe Western Beverage Distributing, which I'll call distributing or beverage, and your role in the company in 2010.
So in 2010, we were a beverage distributor of wine and beer servicing the Front Range of Colorado, Front Range basically being Fort Collins to Pueblo, that geographic area. So we distributed brands like, our largest brand was Miller Brewing Company. We had Heineken, Sam Adams, Sapporo, a large variety of beer brands. and a few small wine brands, or actually some of our own wine brands. So we basically distributed these alcoholic products to liquor stores, bars, restaurants, anybody with a liquor license. I started in the business as a driver early in my college age and worked my way up through the business. Started as a driver, worked up through sales, management, and eventually in 2010 I was the operations manager for the business. It really was comprised, there's two sides of the distribution business. There's a sales side, which is all the salespeople going out, making account calls, selling products, doing all the things that we need to do to get the product out into distribution. And then there's the operations side. In 2010, I was the operations manager for Western Beverage.
Thank you. And can you describe in more detail what the operations side consisted of and what it did?
Of course. So on the operations side, I was responsible for basically all of the product. So there was the sales side and then the operations side. So I oversaw all the purchasing of product coming in so that we had product to sell. And then I would also manage a team of warehouse people to manage the warehouse for bringing product in, getting it stocked, and then getting it loaded on trucks as orders came in. So there was a warehouse crew, and then there would also be a delivery crew, which is the crew that would actually go out and make the physical deliveries to the store. So everything to do with the product side, we handled on my end.
Thank you. So just to confirm, you were in charge of purchasing inventory?
Correct.
And were you also in charge of purchasing the trucks?
Yes, so when it came time to need equipment, whether it's for the warehouse or for delivery, I would work with different companies to purchase equipment.
Could you describe the difference between the trucks used in the beverage distribution business and in the interstate transportation business?
Of course. In the transportation business, they have long-haul trucks which have sleepers on them, so the drivers are out weeks at a time, and they're big 50-foot trailers, basically designed to load full pallets of product on. In the distribution business, we're using a much smaller truck. You're probably familiar with, you see them on the streets, the Budweiser truck rolling down the street, and it's got the roll-up doors on the side. So we would pick a product, we would have probably 1,000 cases on a truck of mixed products, could be 200-300 different items on a truck. So all those are hand loaded on a truck at night, and then a delivery driver would go out. So the type of equipment that we used was very specialized for the distribution industry.
Thank you. Did you have an administrative staff within the beverage distribution division?
Yes, we had an administrative staff that really kind of worked with the customer service department. So they were supporting salespeople for customers who called in. And there was also a credit department. So they would handle all the collection of ARs from our accounts. There was about 3 people we had that managed all the collections of accounts. And so they reported to that office manager type position. And then they would manage all the customer service staff. We had a couple customer service people that would answer all the calls and deal with customers that were calling in and get information to salespeople.
Did you also send out your own invoices in the distribution business?
That's correct. Every delivery made would have an invoice. It was really before electronics were popular in the industry, so it was paper invoices. So we would go out with paper invoices. I'm sorry? Sure. Before there was a lot of technology. Today we all use iPads and electronic signatures and everything. At that point in time, it was all just paper. So when a driver went out to make a delivery, he would deliver the goods, the customer would sign for the product so that we had a signed invoice that we would return to the office and then scan in. So we had to manage all those invoices and for our record keeping, and if there was any disputes, we could refer to those invoices.
Thank you. So just to confirm, you kept the books for the beverage distribution business, or the administrative staff that you just described kept the books for the beverage distribution business?
That's correct.
Thank you. About how many people were in the operations side and how many people were in the sales side?
There was roughly 100 people on the sales side. There was Grant Bauer, who was the vice president of sales, so he was pretty well led that division. And then he would have a group of district managers, and each district managers would have 4 to 5 salespeople underneath them. So there was about 100 people in total on the sales side. In delivery, we had about 40 different drivers. We also, again, had supervisors that would supervise those delivery staff and, cover vacations or whatever, manage. We would do all the hiring, firing, managing all the staff ourselves. And then I think in the warehouse, we probably had about another 20 people. We ran 3 shifts, so during the week, we ran 24 hours. During the first shift, which would be about 6 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon, that's when product was coming into the warehouse. So we're unloading trucks coming in with product. The afternoon shift was stocking the warehouse. So we had a back stock area and then a pick area. So they would stock from the back stock to the pick area. And then at night, we would pull all the orders and load the trucks from that picking area. And that was pretty well our process. So Monday through Friday, we were 24-hour operation, and then closed on the weekends. But
Thank you. Were the CEO and CFO of Western Distributing Company involved in the beverage distribution division operations?
no,
Who was in charge of the day-to-day operations?
Grant and myself. Obviously, Grant, as Ed mentioned, running the sales side of it, and then I ran the operation side of it.
Did you ever have discussions with the CEO and the CFO of Western Distributing Company?
They would check in on occasion with us to see how things were going, see what was happening. If there was any large purchases that we need to make, like trucks or forklifts that were significant, investments, we would check in with them to let them know what we were doing and make sure they're aware of any, large expenditures that we needed to make.
How did the beverage distribution division interact with the corporate accounting group?
Not a lot. Our staff would roll up numbers to the corporate. So on the accounting side, on the sales administration staff, Grant had a staff of people that worked for him that rolled up numbers and would report those to corporate. And same with our office manager on the operations side, they would roll up information to the uppers, but really we managed all that information. It was easiest for us to keep track of a lot of our own financials because we could get real-time information and keep on top of how our performances were doing, what our expenditures were. So it was easiest for us to really track everything ourselves and just roll those numbers up.
Thank you. I understand the corporate office wrote checks from a single checking account to pay for the expenses of the beverage distribution business. Can you explain how that process worked?
Yes, so anytime we made purchases, especially inventory purchases, we made all those decisions. We worked with forecasting and projecting, and we would turn in all the POs to our suppliers to get the goods shipped to us. And we would then take all those invoices. So upon delivery, we'd start with a PO, and then we ship that to the supplier. Then they would ship us the goods on a bill of lading, and then they would send us an invoice. So we would take the purchase order, match it up to the bill of lading, match that up to the invoice. We would then code all the expenses on that invoice to wherever they went. So cost of goods sold, freight, tax, we would do all the coding so that everything went to the correct category, and then we would just submit those for payment.
Thank you. I understand the corporate office also ran payroll for the employees of the corporation. Can you describe how the payroll process worked?
Sure, yeah, so we managed everybody's hours and time, and we would just really submit all that to the payroll department to handle all the appropriate things that need to be done with payroll. But we managed all of our staff, we controlled their time, and made sure that they were working hours they were supposed to be. If they were not, if they had vacation, if they had whatever going on, we would manage all their time and just roll that up to the payroll department for them to handle the payout.
Thank you. Did the beverage distribution division share employees or equipment with any other division or the corporate office?
No.
Thank you. Could you describe how the inventory that you purchase is transported to your warehouse?
Sure. So when we would place orders with our suppliers, they would arrange transportation getting to us. For example, Miller Brewing Company, they had breweries across the United States, from California to Milwaukee to Texas to South Carolina. And because they had all those different locations, they would arrange all the freight to get to us. And most of our suppliers work that way. They would arrange all the transportation. Like Miller, they would ship us beer on boxcars, which is on train, which is a complicated procedure. And obviously, they were doing it across the country. So with their large network of shipping, it was easiest for them to manage shipping all the product to us. Pretty well every supplier wanted to control shipping. They didn't want distributors, using companies that would overcharge freight rates. So they always managed it. They would deliver it to us. Either they would deliver it to us with a freight charge on the invoice, or they would actually include the price of freight in the cost of goods that they sold to us. Various suppliers would handle it in different formats.
What percentage of your inventory was received by transportation arranged by the manufacturer?
Almost all of it.
Okay, thank you. Could you take a look? I have in front of you the FTB's Exhibit N, which are a series of transportation invoices. I understand, have you looked at those invoices?
Yes.
Can you describe what is going on with respect to those invoices?
So on that invoice, it shows that there are several different orders picked up by one truck. One of the things I mentioned earlier is that we had some of our own wine brands. So we would buy wine from California wineries, and we would have our own name on it. And so we kind of have our own brands that we distributed, and it was just kind of an old family tradition. When we would buy wine like that, it was never a full truckload worth of wine. We would buy a couple pallets at a time. One thing about Western Distributing Transportation Company is they're what's called a full load carrier. So they only book a full load. So if I only had 2 or 3 pallets to ship, it wouldn't make sense for me to pay for an entire load when I only have 2 or 3 pallets. So a lot of times we would use outside carriers who work in what's called an LTL market, which is less than truckload carrier, which Western Distributing is not. We would hire companies like that. On rare occasions where we had multiple suppliers in a close proximity, we could negotiate enough to combine these orders to create a full truckload, therefore making the freight rate reasonable on a per case basis to get it to us. So it would be a way for us to pick up our own wine. Since our wine was ours, the shipper was not responsible for freight, so we had to figure out how to get it to us ourselves.
And when you arrange shipping for your own wine to be shipped to your warehouse, did you use other transportation companies other than Western Distributing Transportation Corp. on occasion?
Yes, like I said, most of the time, if we only had a couple pallets to pick up, it wouldn't make sense to use Western Distributing because the rate was too high on a small order like that, so we would contract with other companies.
And when you're contracting for shipping of your own wine, how does that process work when you're wanting to hire a transportation company?
Basically, we had a couple different people we would work with. We could get a rate from Western Distributing Transportation Company, and I also had brokers that I worked with that would go out and find these less than truckload carriers. So a lot of times we would just use a broker. We would give them the information about where the load is picking up at, how many pallets or how much weight or how much space, depending on what they were looking for. And then they would negotiate with these carriers to find who we could get the best rate from. And then we would compare those rates and make our decision based on the best rate available.
So for these transactions, you had the independence to use any transportation company you wanted?
Yes.
And when you used Western Distributing Transportation Company, did you pay market rates?
We did.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. I'm going to check with the Franchise Tax Board to see if they have any questions for Mr. Guadagni.
Yes, Judge, we do have a few questions.
Okay, please begin when ready.
So, Mr. Guadagni, for the taxable year ended 2010, which I'll refer to as the year at issue, was Western Distributing Company, or WDC, a Colorado S corporation?
I don't know that I know the answer to that.
Okay, were you a shareholder of WDC in that year?
Yes.
And in that year, were you a resident of Colorado?
Yes.
Did you personally file a California non-resident tax return for the year ended 2010?
I don't recall.
Okay, so during the year at issue, did you hold an EVP position within WDC's beverage distribution division?
Can you clarify EVP?
So my understanding is that you held a VP position within WDC's beverage distribution division. Is that correct?
Again, I'm sorry, can you clarify EBP?
Executive Vice President.
I was the operations manager.
Understood. Okay. Did you ever hold a position as a safety officer for WDC and its divisions?
I was part of a safety council that we had for our department.
So just to clarify, were you ever a safety officer for WDC and its divisions?
No.
So were purchase orders submitted to WDC for processing and dispersing?
Excuse me, I'm having trouble understanding. Could you please speak slower?
Certainly.
Sorry.
Mr. Havens, maybe just back up a little bit. I think it's just a little like,
A little bit too much?
yeah,
There's a
perfect.
little
I think,
feedback or something.
yeah, there's a little bit of feedback or something. I think that's a little bit better.
Sorry about that.
That's okay, thank you.
So were purchase orders from the beverage division submitted to WDC's central office for processing and dispersing?
Well, purchase orders were, once they were signed for, they were submitted to corporate just for payment purposes.
And was payroll conducted by WDC's central office?
Yes.
How about onboarding? Was that conducted by WDC's central office?
No, when somebody was hired, we handled all of the onboarding for our individual departments. They were different enough that the departments handled them themselves.
So to be clear, at Exhibit 2, line 20, Chris Boggs testifies that the corporate office processed payroll for the divisions and onboarded all new employees. Is that incorrect?
I'm not familiar with his statement on that.
Okay. Did WDC have a centralized employee handbook with policies that applied to all of WDC's divisions?
They were more specific because every division was so different in the way they were handled. We had a handbook that was specific to our division and the jobs that we do within our division.
So was there a generalized WDC handbook, employee handbook?
I don't recall.
So you don't recall if employees of the divisions were required to sign acknowledgement of the policies in the WDC handbook?
Again, for our individual departments, we would have handbooks, and I believe they signed those. I don't remember the specific details.
So did the beverage distribution division use the transportation division for shipments of beer from California to Colorado?
Very few, but yes.
No further questions, Judge.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Woodwog, I'm going to ask the panel if there are any questions for you, just for clarification about your testimony. I'm going to start with Judge Johnson. Are there any questions for Mr. Guadagni?
Hi, Mr. Goddard. Can you hear me okay? Okay. You mentioned that numbers would be rolled up and sent up to corporate. They'd have sort of oversight on large purchases. They'd be aware, obviously, of hiring and firing because they handle payroll. How often would these sort of decisions that were being done by the beverage industry or beverage division seek pre-approval from corporate?
Very little. Again, unless it was something significant, we handled our business.
Okay. For any of those that require pre-approval or perhaps after the fact evaluation, how often would corporate sort of deny the request or the proposed actions by the beverage division?
I can't think of a specific occasion.
Okay. Thank you. No questions.
Thank you. I'll go to Judge Long. Were there any questions for Mr. Guadagni?
Yes, I do have a couple questions for you. My first question is when you testified about the numbers being rolled up to corporate, can you tell me what that means?
So in the operation side, we would roll up all of our purchases, all of our expenses, all of our payroll, anything that we could provide to create a financial statement, which we basically created ourselves again for a timely manner. We wanted to be able to see things as fast as we could so we knew how we were doing. So on the operation side, again, all of our expenses, all of our labor, and all those things we would roll up.
So the data entry was done at your division level?
That's correct.
Okay, and then my next question was, so you testified that there's no shared employees between these two different divisions that we're talking about. And I just want to confirm that's correct. So not warehouse staff, not mechanics, none of that, no shared employees?
None at all.
All right, thank you. That's all my questions.
Thank you, Judge Long. I have no questions, so I just want to thank you for your testimony today. And you're free. I don't think we'll need any other testimony from you, so thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Mr. Antolin, did you want to call your next witness?
Yes, thank you very much.
Is Mr. Gaines? All right, I'm going to swear you in, Mr. Gaines. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Well, I can see you.
Okay. Hello.
Thank
Okay.
you for,
Can you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes, I do.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Antolin, please begin.
Thank you. Mr. Gaines, can you please describe Western Distributing Company and your role in the company?
Yeah, I first want to say thank you for accommodating me with the hearing. I drove a race car for way too many years and obviously didn't wear adequate protection, and I'm pretty severely handicapped, so this helps a lot. My role with Western Distributing Company, well, I was kind of born and raised in Western Distributing Company. My grandfather, Guido Mappelli, and Adolph Coors were fishing buddies back in the 30s, 1930s. And they spent a lot of time fishing and talking about various things. And And so we became, at Prohibition, 1933, we became the first distributor of Coors beer legally, and it grew from there. At some point in time, Adolph Coors and Grandpa decided that they would go their separate ways because the Coors wanted to distribute their own product, and my grandfather wanted to branch out into other alcoholic beverages, beers, and wines. So that happened in the 40s, and I joined the company when I was, well, early on in my teens, and did odd jobs, wash trucks, clean toilets, whatever needed to be done, and worked my way through the organization, doing anything from delivery to washing trucks and learning the business. We were a very small business back then. As a matter of fact, I was telling Ed that back then we did 80% of our yearly business in the months of November and December because we were skewed toward holidays and celebrations. And in those days, we didn't have the ski industry. We didn't have the other things that dictated how the business went. So we grew along. We got into the wine business a little bit. We became the largest independent wholesaler in the United States at one time, distributing wines and beers and liquor in the state of Colorado. It was a lot of fun. Growing up, exciting times. Back in those days, you drank to celebrate and you drank to forget. And those were kind of the rules of the road. Today, there's a lot more options and more ways to have fun, I guess. So things have changed significantly. In the 70s, I was having a hard time getting product from California to Denver. And it just seemed to be the trucking companies were controlling the business more than we were. And during sometimes a year when they weren't moving produce, they had a lot of trucks for us. And during the produce season, back then there was definitely seasons for produce seasons. And when produce season was on, they couldn't find a truck for us. Well, our customers want wine, whether they can, produce season or not. So we started with a few trucks. I think there were 3 at the time, and I want to say it's in the 70s. I want to say it's 75, 77-ish that we had 3 trucks, and they would go to Kentucky and get Jim Beam, and they would go to California and get wine. And we got Bacardi rum out of Florida. So we kind of got this truck line going, and after a while it became obvious that was its own entity, that you couldn't really run a liquor business in a trucking company because they were so diverse. So we kind of branched out with the trucking company. We bought more trucks, we hauled more products, we were in different buildings, and had our own management to do that function. Also, the beverage business over the years has ebbed and flowed. Probably the biggest change that we had is we were a large Miller distributor. And Miller, actually in Colorado, was kind of embarrassing, but we actually outsold Coors a little bit. And they didn't like that. Coors didn't like that. Which is unfortunate because I was good friends with a lot of the Coors family. So they put together a joint venture, a sale, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, whereas Coors and Miller combined. And in most areas, it was a combination because it made sense to deliver both products out of one truck instead of two trucks. It came down to us, and it's unfortunate that we're in Colorado because we think that we were the better distributor, but the Coors family and the Miller families decided that it was time for us to sell. So we sold the company. It's very disappointing for us because we had a lot of fun, and we ran a great business. And but that's the way of the world. So we're no longer the largest independent distributor in the United States. We're a small wine and other beer distributor, which Sterling described, and we continue to do that today, along with the transportation. Transportation company has grown through the years, where we haul a tremendous amount of, believe it or not, we haul a tremendous amount of Coors beer out. Even though we weren't a distributor anymore, we're one of their prime trucking forwarders. And we bring a lot of beer all over the United States. We also haul a tremendous amount of produce from California. Back in those days, I told you produce season. Well, we don't have a produce season anymore. Produce sometimes comes out of the Central Valley, sometimes it comes out of Arizona. Right now, this time of year, it's kind of Arizona and Mexico. There's a little shortage of produce right now, but we're almost ready to switch seasons, where all the production, the plants are being planted and come up to the Central Valley, and we'll start hauling that in. So we haul a lot of vegetables in. We haul a lot of Colorado beef out. You're reading today about JBS strike in Colorado. That's the largest beef processing plant in the United States. And we haul 50 loads a week of beef. A lot of it goes to Japan, comes through California, goes to the port, and all over. I'm rambling. I apologize. But I guess the thing is we've enjoyed these companies. They're totally independent from each other. They're run independently from each other. They all have their own software systems. They all have their own management. They set and to try to hit their yearly goals or monthly goals, and try to go forward to a plan that they put together. We're cheerleaders. We have some other businesses that we also engage entrepreneurs in, people who want to make a really good product but don't have the wherewithal and to do so. For example, we had a little crankshaft company. We make crankshafts for racing use only. It's considered one of the best products made in the world, certainly the best product made in the United States. It started out with a fellow that was operating out of his garage, and he had a knack for understanding, you know what a crankshaft is inside a motor vehicle. It's a thing that transfers the power from the to the transmission and on back. But it's we got a hold of this fella, and the reason we got a hold of him because we were having a hard time buying crankshafts. So we got together with this fella, and he's operating out of his garage, oversized 3-car garage basically, had a couple machines, but understood the dynamics of a crankshaft, what the metal does, what the design does. He invented some things that are used in racing today. For example, the crankshaft shape. A crankshaft's spinning thousands of RPMs inside of a motor. It encounters wind resistance. So by shaping the crankshaft in certain ways, we're able to increase the efficiency of the crankshaft and also the strength of the crankshaft. And like I said, some of these things are being used today. A drop of oil hitting a crankshaft at 10,000 RPM can rob 20, 30 horsepower. So we're instrumental in working through those issues. That's one example. We're selling specialized crankshaft. It's the highest priced crankshaft on the market. It's also the best crankshaft on the market. It's a very successful business. They guide their own, they buy their own material, they do their own accounting, they do their own purchase orders, they do their own sales, they do everything themselves, like the other divisions. Fine Line, we started out in the beer business. We had put all those decals on sides of trucks, Miller Beer, all those type of things. We were having a hard time getting that done, so we found a couple guys, a couple entrepreneurs that were looking to make their business better, same thing as the crankshafts. We got together with them. They were able to do a better job. They were able to buy better equipment. They were able to go out and increase sales. And today, for example, if you go out to the airport and you see Frontier Airlines and you see the animal on the back tail of the plane, that's something we do. We design, make, and install those decals. We've done work all over the United States. We do a lot of special events. We do Denver Art Museum. We do the Broncos. We've done stadiums, football stadiums across the United States, all because these couple guys had the vision and the desire to make something great. And they did it. And they did it because they did it on their own, because they were able to purchase the right materials. They're able to hire the right people. They're able to go out and market their product and became successful at it. A couple examples of some of the things we've done. We also make connecting rods. We have some highly specialized shops that do some various things. But the unique thing about them, and all of them, is that they're all very, very independent. I don't remember how many in 2010 there were. I think there were 14 businesses or whatever. They all had their own software. It's a software that they purchased, they investigated, they recommended, and they used to run their business on. Sure, in the end, the dump came back to Western so that we could make a financial statement, so that we could together judge the performance and track how we're doing against projections and so on. And I've wandered away too much, and I apologize. I don't know, I'm sure I skipped a lot of things that I should talk about.
Thank you, thank you.
And I'm sure you'll help me out.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Mr. Gaines, could you describe your philosophy, your management philosophy, your business philosophy for having all of these different types of businesses within the corporation?
Well, I'm a real fan of an entrepreneur. If somebody has the knowledge, the desire, and wants to make a presence in the world, that's my type. I think I described Fine Line, two guys struggling, putting decals on at night, weekends. They really wanted to make a difference, and they did make a difference. We were able to give them the tools necessary to, one of them stayed on until a couple years ago, and one of them didn't last quite that, it lasted a couple years. But they didn't want to get bogged down with taxes and the rough road parts of life. They wanted to make a product that customers wanted. They wanted to make a quality item, and they wanted to create a business, and they did so. So you asked what I found a lot of those people. I found the crankshaft guy in a garage. And now it's a worldwide reputation item. And so is Fine Line, and so is some of the others that have done very, very well. And there's been a couple that have failed.
Thank you. Did the corporate accounting office prepare the corporate tax returns with the outside accounting firm?
Yeah, well, did they prepare? No, they hired accounting services, big companies. As you can imagine, with all those companies, plus we're operating trucks in 40-some states, paying tax everywhere we go. We pay fuel tax, we pay road tax, in some areas we pay excise taxes. So our tax return is a tremendously difficult, I can't understand it. They say, here, sign this. It's pages and pages, it's inches thick of tax returns from all over the place to combine to, we pay a lot of tax in California, we pay a lot of road tax, we pay a lot of fuel tax. By the way, your fuel's way too high. It requires the expertise, and generally we don't get our taxes filed until November, December of every year. We file extension after extension after extension, trying to pull together all these numbers to get the thing done. And when I say we, it's not Western, it's the tax preparers. These are large outfits. Plant Moran. Right now, I think we're with BDO. This is their expertise, and this is what they do. And then, of course, they advise us, different directions to try to save tax where we can.
Thank you.
Bad words to you, I'm sorry.
Mr. Gaines, could you describe how insurance was handled?
Insurance. Well, insurance is a great subject because we spend right now, we spend $750,000 a month on insurance. Insurance industry for businesses, you primarily have to hire a broker. You can't just go to State Farm or Geico on TV, something like that. You have to hire a broker, you have to assign a broker, and the broker goes out and shops all the insurance companies for rates. Last year, we were having a particular difficult time because costs were going up so much. We interviewed the insurance brokers interviewed 52 different insurance companies, trying to find one that would handle all of our needs and at a fair price. And even today, our towing division, which is a very, very large division, all the insurance companies say they're not going to insure tow trucks anymore. And we don't do the chase around tow trucks. We do the large format. We pick up semis, we pick up windmills, we pick up, we have these huge monstrous trucks that can do almost anything. But the insurance companies don't want to do that. So your question was, and I apologize, I ran it off again. But the insurance is an interesting subject because we have to go out and get all these various insurance. You have to get insurance for delivering product. We have to get insurance we have a division, the armor division. We are a hauler of large dollar value loads for the federal government. We haul the paper from Texas up to Massachusetts that they print the money on. They print the money obviously at the mints. We haul money from production to the various Fed offices, the Fed banks, Federal Reserves, and these shipments are in excess of many millions of dollars. Let me just say it that way, many, many millions of dollars. All that requires insurance. These brokers have to go out and they have to find the insurance to cover all this. And we, for example, we employ on some of the large money moves as many as 4 or 5 insurance companies to cover a single shipment. Lloyd's of London, you've heard of them. They're only large enough, and they'll only take a portion. So you have to find multiple insurance companies to cover some of these loads. So yeah, insurance is and I liken that to the way we operate. We try to provide services, and we provide services for the insurance. We provide services for transportation, for the money hauling, and for property insurance, and all the things that truck insurance. Like I say, $750,000 a month in insurance premiums. It's enough to scare the heck out of you. But in today's day and age, with the lawyers advertising on TV, you get a truck hit you, come see us, we'll get you lots of money. Boy, we're getting claims filed against us on a monthly basis. And the insurance companies are struggling to find ways to combat this, and we're helping them. We got cameras in all of our trucks, and we take pictures of anything that happens, and we're able to overcome some of these things. I'm rambled again, sorry.
Thank you. No, you're doing great. Given how different the divisions were, they're different businesses, can you describe if the insurance policies for each division was separately underwritten?
Well, you know, it's a great question. Because some of our divisions utilize insurance and some of their operations so little. For example, in some of our manufacturing, we don't get a lot of injuries. We don't get a lot of twisted ankles and bad backs and strained whatevers. So their insurance on that portion is lower and helps bring the overall package down. But if you go to the transportation side, where you got truck drivers out there loading and unloading and driving, and sometimes they jump out of a truck too quickly, slip on some ice. Our usage of our insurance is a lot higher. So that drags the rates up a little bit. So we've always been torn between finding the best rates for each division, or I should say each division finds their own rates, but they've always been torn between they can find a cheaper rate on maybe health insurance, but they can't find a cheaper rate on, say, property insurance or manufacturing related instances. So we have been pulled sometimes toward letting a division go a separate route, but it usually ends up back in the same pot because of the strength of the overall numbers and the dollars involved. The insurance brokers usually find the best deal. Plus, an insurance broker, as I mentioned before, goes out and gets puts out 52 bids. Crankshaft maker can't possibly put out more than 3 or 4. You know, the neighbor down the street, the church lady, whatever, that sells insurance on the side. You can't possibly run a business that way. You have to rely on the professionals to help you do those things.
Thank you. You mentioned that in some cases, a division could use their own broker and shop around for prices.
Yeah, and they do. And they have tried, because, you get a guy that's making, I keep using crankshafts, and that's not fair, but he's making crankshafts, and he says, I look at my numbers, and if my insurance costs weren't so high, I could make more money. And I guess I didn't mention at some point, all these entrepreneurs get a cut of the action. So they're interested in making money too, not just producing a great product. But so they're interested in getting a better rate, and they have tried. It just seems that we have, when you buy the amount of insurance we do and shop as extensively, I shouldn't say we, because insurance brokers that do all this work.
Thank
So
you.
they just present us with the results and the observations and the opportunity to choose what makes the most amount of sense.
And were the insurance premiums allocated to each division?
Yes, absolutely. Everything's allocated to the, each division. I don't care, we have an internal form where they buy a pencil. We have a, they get charged for the pencil. So that's extreme example, but just show you that that's how far down we go.
Thank you. Why did the company maintain a single checking account?
Well, because of its size, because of its expanse, it's got to be an hourglass at some point in time for these things to be watched. For the worst example I have is that 4 years ago, our crankshaft guy, crankshaft keeps coming up. I apologize. They're not the center of the world. But the crankshaft fella, he was able to get away with almost $1.5 million before we caught him, because he was doing his own thing, billing his own thing, and the front office didn't catch it in time. Eventually, we caught it. The cameras caught it. The numbers all of a sudden didn't add up, and we were able to do it. So, I'm sorry, the question you asked was?
I think you answered it.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you. How about payroll? Can you describe how the payroll process worked?
Well, payroll is a particularly tough thing because of the rules of the land, the federal rules, the state rules, the taxes, the health benefits, all the things that are involved in making a payroll. I don't think anybody does their own payroll anymore. I don't think you can do your own payroll anymore. It's too complicated. You got 401 matching, you got insurance, you got insurance you break down into health and dental and vision and all those things. It requires a mastermind to be able to keep track of all this. So there's a few payroll companies out there, none of them any good in my opinion. I was unsolicited. But they're the ones that have to put all this together. Plus, they have to turn in reports to the state, to the feds, to everybody on who gets what, when, and where. And all those reports have to be done on a timely basis, or there's big penalties. So it's a very, very complicated process. Something that a crankshaft maker, you know, to try to do that versus make a better crankshaft or more crankshafts, something that helps him earn more money, it just doesn't make sense. Can they do it? Well, they could. But it's something really nobody wants to touch. I don't think any of us want to touch it. It's that difficult.
Thank you. Can you describe the line of credit that was used to support the beverage distribution business?
Well, I think I mentioned before that at one time we did 80% of our yearly volume in the months of November and December. And because of that, there was a huge inventory buildup because most of our suppliers at that time were worked on a calendar year. They had sales numbers to hit, and they would pressure us into buying more inventories. And because we had more inventories, and because it was the end of the year and time to go fishing is when the fish are biting, so we sold a lot more merchandise. What that means, if you translate it down to the bottom line, is that we needed a whole much more money than normally to buy this inventory. We needed a whole bunch more money to sell this inventory and to basically finance, I hate that word, but basically finance our retailers because we gave them good deals also. So they extended themselves out and bought a lot of inventory. So basically between about 1st of November and about the 15th of April, we were in a position where we needed extra money. And back in those days, a very popular, and I say back in those days because it's not as popular today, but a very popular financing method was inventory and accounts receivable financing, which is perfect for what our needs were. So because our inventory spiked so high and because our accounts receivable spiked so high and because the banks were willing to loan on that, knowing that those bills would be paid, they extended us big credit lines.
Thank you.
Just for the beverage division. That's the only one that encountered that type of action.
Thank you, thank you. Earlier, you mentioned that back in the 70s, you bought the trucks, the interstate trucks, thinking that you would use them to transport inventory to the beverage distribution business, but then you decided to separate those as two separate businesses. Do you remember about when you made that decision to have them operate separately?
I apologize, I'm 77 years old and my memory's not as good as it used to be. I remember we purchased some of our first trucks in 76 and 77. There were 3 of them. And
Let me ask it this way. By 2010, were those two businesses, the beverage business and the transportation business, operating separately?
by a long shot, yeah. I got to say that we separate them back in the, I want to say the 90s, at least as late as the 90s, perhaps in the 80s. You know, if you gave me enough time and gave me enough hints, I probably could come up with a better dating, but that's the best I can do at this time.
Thank you. That's perfect. So you mentioned earlier, I just want to confirm that in the corporate office, you relied on the outside accounting firm and tax experts to prepare Western Distributing's state tax returns?
Yes.
Thank you. Are there any shareholders who are tax professionals?
No,
Thank you.
thank God. Oops, I'm
Hey.
sorry. I'm in the wrong place to say that.
All right. So when the beverage distribution rights were sold in 2010, could you please confirm that all of the gains were reported by the shareholders to the state of Colorado?
Yes,
And all Colorado state taxes were paid on those gains?
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, we believe in paying our taxes. We don't like coming here. It's a beautiful place, but sorry, it's not as pretty as Colorado.
Thank you. No further questions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gaines, are you doing okay?
I'm great.
Okay. I'm going to see if the franchise tax boards have any questions for you.
Yes, Judge, we have questions.
Okay,
Mr.
go
Gaines.
ahead, Mr. Havens.
So, Mr. Gaines, for the taxable year ended 2010, which again I'll refer to as the year at issue, was Western Distributing Company a Colorado-based S corporation?
Yes,
And for the year at issue, were you a resident of Colorado?
year and issue, was I arrested in Colorado?
Yes, so for 2010, were you a resident of
Oh,
Colorado?
resident. My transcriber said arrested. Yes, I was a resident, yes. Sorry.
And during that year, in 2010, did you hold an executive position within WDC?
At NWDC, what is NWDC?
Within Western Distributing Company?
Oh, okay, I had held the executive CEO position at that time in 2010, yes.
And you currently hold that same position, correct?
Yes,
And did you also hold a position on Western Distributing Company's Board of Directors in 2010?
you know, I guess so. Yes, I mean, there's only 5 of us or whatever, if that much, and so it's not a very structured, if you want to say, we have coffee together and talk over problems, you know.
And what was your title on the board? Were you the president of the Board of
I
Directors?
think I've been CEO as long as I can remember. I've held the title of president on and off throughout the years, but I don't remember why or how. Like again, those things weren't important to us on a business basis.
Okay. So who were the other members of the Board of Directors at that time? Do you recall?
Oh, well, my brother obviously was, he was a board member, shareholder, and he helped Sterling and Grant primarily on the beer and wine side. My sister, who's a school teacher, she wasn't on the board, she was a shareholder at that time. And obviously our CFO was a board member, Chris Boggs. He retired. My sister retired, gave all her shares back to the company, and I think to the best of my knowledge, that's it.
So,
Feels like I'm missing something, but can't think of what that is.
so just to confirm, in the year at issue, your brother and your sister were on the board with you, and the 3 of you together owned all of the voting shares of Western Distributing Company. Is that correct?
I think my kids all have some shares.
So yes, Mr. Gaines,
And my brother's.
I'm specifically asking about the voting shares of Western
The
Distributing
voting
Company.
shares? No, voting shares are primarily just my brother, sister, and myself.
So for the year at issue, the 3 of you owned all of the voting shares of Western Distributing Company.
I believe so.
Okay. And did you own the majority of the voting shares in that year?
Yes,
Does the figure 84.12% sound about correct?
it sounds correct.
So WDC then was a family business in the year at issue.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. In your affidavit, you state that WDC was founded by your grandfather in 1933 as a family-run Coors distributorship. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you further testified that...
Well, let me back up. I think formally we incorporated, I want to say in 1946 or 1947. I don't know what the structure was. I know 1933 was prohibition and allowed grandfather to go out and sell Coors beer. I don't know what the structure was between 33 and 47, but something like that.
Understood. So in the 1970s, Western Beverage acquired long-haul trucks to move Western Beverage's alcohol beverage inventory. Is that correct?
I think I said that I think we purchased 3 trucks in around 1976, 1977. Yes.
And at that time, in the late 70s and early 80s, Western Distributing Company and Western Distributing Transportation Corporation were separate corporations. Is that correct?
No, they've never been separate corporations.
So, just to confirm, our exhibit here, we've got a merger agreement at Exhibit H, in which Western Distributing Transportation Corporation is merged into Western Distributing Company. Do you recall that transaction?
I certainly don't recall that at all.
It was concordant with the merger of Mike Diodosio. Do you remember that transaction, sir?
Boy, you're talking a lot of years ago. That's a name I hadn't heard in a long, long time, and I don't recall what happened at that point in time. So, I don't know how to answer your question. At some point in time, we did purchase Mike Diodosio Wholesale. They were out of Pueblo, Colorado, and they were a company similar to ours.
Understood. So in the 80s, did you and your brother change the voting structure within Western Distributing Company? Specifically, did you create voting and non-voting shares within WDC?
I remember doing that. Have no idea what year that might be. You could say the 70s, 80s, you could say anything you wanted, and I just remember the event as a result of the tax preparer's suggestion that we create voting and non-voting stock for possible future estate planning.
I see. Following the merger, did you establish Western Distributing Transportation Company as a separate trade name under WDC?
I don't know when it was done. I mean, we've always been Western Distributing Company. At some point in time, we added transportation, and that division became Western Distributing Transportation. You had said the merger. I don't know what the merger is that you're talking about.
Understood. Let's shift gears. On January 22nd of 2001, did you establish the Western Beverage Distributing trade name under Colorado law? Colorado law.
Boy, that's out of the blue sky for me. I'm sorry, I don't. We've had Western Distributing trade name. Well, Western Distributing Company, Western Distributing Co. is a corporate name. Exactly. No, Western Distributing Company is what we've been since 1940, whatever. Trade names have come and gone. Weinberg Crankshafts, Western Beverage, Fine Line, all those are trade names. They've come and gone over the years. But we've always been Western Distributing Company as a corporate entity.
So just to be clear, you don't remember initiating the Western Beverage Distributing trade name?
Something tickles my brain that when we purchased the Miller distribution rights, they wanted us to rename our company as Miller Distributing, and we didn't want to do that. We didn't want to give up our roots of Western Distributing Company because we had a long success history. And we felt it was important for the customers to remember Western Distributing as well as buy Miller beer. So I think at that point in time, we settled with Miller Brewing Company to rename the company Western Beverage, and I believe that's the incident that you're talking about, or strictly as a trade name.
Understood. So the Western Distributing Company beverage distribution operations pre-existed the trade name and continued to exist after the sale. Is that correct?
Yeah, Western Distributing goes back to, like I said, in the 1940s and still exists today.
Understood. So did Western Distributing Company sell beer distribution rights and related assets to High Country Beverage Corporation and Miller Coors LLC in 2010?
Yeah, that was kind of a funny deal because different people wanted to do different things. Our deal with Coors Brewing Companies was to sell all the Miller distribution rights. And for them, they wanted to reassign or resell or whatever. We weren't privy to what that transaction was, but they wanted to reassign to, I think there were 2 or 3 other wholesalers in their network that, where we sold the distribution rights to.
And did you sign those sales documents in your capacity as a CEO of WDC and a shareholder of WDC?
Yes, I believe I did.
And the bulk of the beer distribution rights at issue in the appeal were acquired prior to the establishment of the Western Beverage Distribution trade name. Is that correct?
I can't remember that. I don't, that doesn't sound, I mean, once again, it's Western Distributing Company.
Understood. So the Western Distributing Company is the
Western
entity that
Distrib-
matters.
Sorry.
Okay. On its original California tax return for the year at issue, did Western Distributing Company and its divisions claim to be engaged in a diversified unitary trader business?
I don't know what a diversified inventory trade business is, so I don't know what the California, I don't know that. That would be
Okay.
something that the tax people probably would be more able to answer than myself.
Okay, so for the years at issue, did WDC employ a single checking account for all of the divisions?
Well, we have one main checking account.
Okay,
Um,
and was all division income deposited into that checking account?
Yes.
And were all expenses, to include the headquarters and division expenses, paid out of that
Well,
checking
let
account?
me back up. That's not a correct answer. They might have, some of them, because of location or whatever, might transfer into a transfer account, but they ended up into the main account.
Understood. Did you sign checks on behalf of WDC and its beverage and transportation divisions?
Yes.
And did the corporate office handle payroll for all of the divisions?
I think almost exclusively, yes. Like I said, I think we tried with one of the divisions at one time to try a separate payroll service, and that didn't work out for long, so I don't have much memory about it.
Okay. You testified that WDC used a broker to purchase insurance for all of the divisions of WDC to secure savings due to the size of the policy. Is that correct?
Well, I don't like the way you characterize it. We didn't hire them to do it. We hired them to put together a package, getting all the necessary coverages for us to look at. Obviously, there's a lot more that goes on there than what we're talking about.
And was price one of the elements that you considered when judging between these policies? The various offerings that the broker considered?
There's so many things to consider when buying insurance. Deductibles, policy limits, types of coverage, and we're so diversified that it makes it even more complicated because you have manufacturing concerns. You have installers up on forklifts or bucket trucks hanging decals from airplanes. You have trucks going up and down the road. You have money hauls that are extreme use of insurance. So there's all kinds of, it's a very, very, very complicated thing. And I think a broker is the right way to go. It's worked out well for us over the years.
So for the year at issue, WDC purchased a single traveler's policy that covered all divisions. Is that correct?
A single what policy?
A single policy through traveler's insurance.
Single policy, traveler's insurance. I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea what a traveler's policy would be. Is it, you're talking about a personal policy?
Travelers was the insurance company, sir.
Oh, Travelers Insurance Company. I'm sorry. Travelers. I thought My son and I are traveling here, we're travelers. Yeah, Travelers is a huge insurance provider at some point in time, and I couldn't tell you the years. But yeah, they were, I don't believe we use them at all today.
So did WDC's corporate office onboard division employees?
No, well, each center does their own onboarding. So they hire, they fire, they do the onboarding, they vet, they check references, they do interviews, they do everything into hiring an employee. The only thing they got to do for corporate when they fill out the payroll request is check off the boxes. Was you know, did they do this? Did they do that? But otherwise, each division did their own.
So as part of that box ticking process, has every WDC ever employed an employee handbook providing employment policies applicable to all divisions?
Well, that's a wide open one. We've always had handbooks, and because the divisions are so different, sometimes different divisions had different handbooks. But the main book obviously was filled with the regulations determining factors where, like the Fed, EEOC, ADA, all the things that go into today's modern day employment management have to be adhered to and have to be described and has to be informed to every employee all the time. That's a lousy answer, I'm sorry, but I'm thinking as I'm going, I hope that helps you.
So, Mr. Gaines, did you serve as the EEOC representative for WDC and its divisions?
Unfortunately, yes, 10 years of it.
And as part of that process, were you involved in litigation on behalf of WDC and its divisions?
Yes, I was.
As part of the employee handbook onboarding process, were employees of WDC and its divisions required to sign acknowledgement of WDC's policies?
I believe in one of the consent decree requests from the EEOC was to inform all the employees, which we had already done, but they had to sign a piece of paper so that they were informed of things like the ADA policies, discrimination policies, all the federal mandated stuff that you got to do in today's world, and it's changing every time there's a vote or there's a legislative gathering. The rules change, and you have to change that handbook every single time they change, if it's applicable to your operation, which it normally is.
And Mr. Gaines, were you also in charge of arbitration on behalf of WDC and its divisions?
In what period of time and what subject and what are you talking about?
Well, so we're specifically looking at the taxable year ended 2010.
I have no idea what you're talking about, sir. Sorry.
Understood. Did you and Chris Boggs review purchases made by the divisions?
Well, we reviewed the numbers part especially. I mean, obviously, we had, anytime you purchase something, you have to do some planning, pre-planning, guesstimations of revenue, expenses, potential profits, plus liabilities that go along with any type of purchase.
And Western Distributing Company did those sorts of projections?
Yes and no. If a particular division wanted to purchase something, they would do all that. And then they would present their request and their pro forma to Chris or to myself, mostly to Chris, but to verify and their intent.
Okay, so just to confirm, division managers were required to consult WDC executives to ensure there was sufficient cash and plans for division expenses, even if they were made in the regular course of WDC or the division's business?
I think that's correct.
Okay. In your capacity as CEO of Western Distributing Company, did you sign a consent decree on behalf of WDC and its divisions to settle an equal opportunity suit brought by the federal government on behalf of 58 employees of WDC divisions?
Yes, I did.
And were you involved in the labor litigation cases of Medina versus Western Distributing Company, Inc., doing business as Western Transportation Distributing Company, and Cisneros versus Western Distributing Company?
I don't know, you said something in there that confuses me. You said University of Western Distributing Company?
So the two
Could
cases...
you re-ask the question, please?
Of course. The two cases at issue were Medina versus Western Distributing Company, doing business as Western Transportation Distributing Company, and Cisneros versus Western Distributing Company.
Okay, I remember those now.
Did you submit affidavits in support of removal of those suits to federal court?
Yes, I did.
And in those affidavits, made on behalf of WDC's divisions, did you testify that all operational, executive, administrative, and policymaking decisions are made from WDC's headquarters?
I don't remember what it was specifically, but I assume you have it, and it's, I mean, we were facing some people here, some ambulance chasers. I don't want to insult anybody, but ambulance chasers who had filed multiple, and they're all California cases, but multiple cases for employment issues against Western Distributing Company. Well, in order to avoid filing multiple cases with the same plaintiff, our lawyers decided that we should kick this thing up to federal court so that one case would decide an issue and not have multiple cases. So in that case, we signed that, whatever you described it as, in order to accomplish that. We're talking about an employment lawyer that put that together, probably who wasn't as knowledgeable about Western Distributing Company as our normal counsel would be. So but that's all it was. And by the way, those cases were thrown out, dismissed, and never occurred.
So just to confirm, Mr. Gaines, this is your signed affidavit in those cases, is that correct?
Which exhibit are you referring to?
We're
I don't
referring to...
know what I'm...
The Franchise Tax Board is referring to exhibits Y and Z specifically, W and Y. And we have a copy if you'd like it.
WXY?
Exhibits W and Y specifically for the Cisneros and Medina litigation.
Okay, I'm looking at what you are referring to.
Specifically, paragraph 3 of your affidavit, sir.
And what is your question?
Did you testify that management and administrative functions were located in Denver, and that the executive, administrative, and policy-making decisions were all made from the headquarters of WDC?
Yeah, again, I'm not a lawyer, but what I was told is that you know, the law firm that did this, Fox Rothschild, they handled the, some of the employee litigation, and they're located out of California. And it was, that was in April of 2021. But, you know, it definitely is my signature. It may
Okay.
be a little misleading as far as what you're describing and what I'm thinking.
Okay, let's shift gears again. In your affidavit, you testified that you, in your capacity as CEO, identified long-haul trucking as a vertical of WDC's operation. Yes. Of course, I'll slow it down. In your affidavit, you testified that as CEO, you identified long-haul trucking as a vertical of Western Distributing Company's operations in the 70s. Is that correct?
Well, you have multiple questions in there. Let's see. In the 70s, I would say it was a vertical operation. We just had trucks that belonged to Western Distributing Company, and we were basically just a beverage distribution company at the time. I mean, transportation wasn't born. A lot of these other things weren't born yet. So I would say at that time, yeah, it was vertical, yeah. But then it became, as I testified earlier, it became to the point where it needed to be a separate operation. So we separated it both physically and operationally into separate buildings and separate management, separate separate everything.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yes. So is Western Distributing Company a registered common carrier with the Department of Transportation? Of course. Was Western Distributing Company a registered common carrier with the Department of Transportation?
Yeah, you pretty much have to be. DOT rules my life. As a matter of fact, the EEOC claim, which by the way we won, it was because the Department of Transportation wants us to follow certain rules, and it's mandated that if these rules aren't followed, the driver can't drive and we can't haul. And the Department of Labor wants us to follow other rules, which says that if you can, we have to accommodate them even if they're unable to drive. So we had two conflicting bureaus of the government trying to decide what we should do. And quite frankly, that's why we won the case, because you can't do that. We can't put a unqualified driver in an 18-wheeler, 80,000 pounds going down the highway, impacting other citizens of the United States because they're not qualified.
Did Western Transportation Company's Transportation Division, Western Distributing Company's Transportation Division, ship Coors beer into California?
Shift core gear in California?
So,
I
Mr.
didn't
Gaines, you
understand that.
talked about the Transportation Division shipping beer, specifically Coors beer, into California. Is that correct?
What's core gear? Is my transponder not?
It's your translator.
Oh, it's my translators translating something different here. What did you say we shifted in California?
Coors beer.
Did we ship Coors beer? Well, that's close, isn't it? I'll get a new one on the way home. Yes, we ship a lot of Coors beer to California. Yes, sir.
And did the Transportation Division transport alcoholic beverages from California to Colorado?
Well, you got an open-ended, we transport a lot of things. Are you talking about for the purpose of Western Distributing Company, or are you talking about general customers, because we ship beer for all kinds of people?
Yes, Mr. Gaines.
Besides Western.
We're specifically asking for the purposes of Western beverage and for Western importers.
Is there a time period you'd like to include on that? Because it's changed through the years.
So for 2009 and 2010, sir.
Well, obviously, the records that we have, I know we shipped some wine. I think Sterling said we shipped some wine. I remember there's a small brewery in San Francisco, Anchor Steam, that we shipped some into Colorado with a transportation truck. But those were, I mean,
Okay.
yeah, we did. Okay.
Did Western Distributing Company's Transportation Division conduct towing operations under the name of Western Towing and Recovery?
What is the question?
Did the Transportation Division conduct towing operations under the trade name Western Towing and Recovery?
Well, we have a few. We have Western Towing, we have Dillon Towing. We're a primary contractor for the state of Colorado Department of Transportation. And so we have a couple, 2 or 3 different names there with a couple, 2 or 3 different locations.
And were the towing operations capable of towing both automotive, truck, and tractor trailers?
We didn't do a lot and still don't do a lot of automotive towing. We try to steer clear from that business. We do primary large-scale trucking type towing, equipment moving type of towing. So we'll transport extremely large excavators or forklifts or different things beside large trucks.
So did the towing operations provide towing services to other divisions of Western Distributing Company?
Well, generally, the way that works, if there's a towing need, usually the state patrol goes to what's called a rotator list, and they call the first one on the list and work down the list until they get somebody agreed to do that. So they're the ones that assign that. We generally are not. I believe the Colorado towing laws say you can't really go out and you can't drive up and down the street looking for a tow. You have to be assigned a tow either by the owner or by the state or whatever.
So, same question, sir. Did you provide towing services to other divisions of Western Distributing Company?
Well, it's just like all the other decisions. If they were the best provider, low cost and service, then they were given the opportunity to provide the service. If we could
Understood.
find a towing company to do it cheaper, then that division was obligated to save money, and it's happened.
Did Western Distributing Company also have a maintenance shop under the name Western Truck and Auto Maintenance?
Yes,
And did Western Truck and Auto Maintenance provide maintenance services to other WDC divisions?
yes,
Did Western Truck and Auto Maintenance offer discounted services to employees of WDC and its divisions?
yes,
And did Western Beverage offer discounted alcoholic beverages to employees of WDC and its divisions for personal use?
Does Western offer discounted? We allow the employees to purchase alcoholic beverages 1 day a month. I think it's 1 day a month. Sterling would know better. At employee prices.
Understood. No further questions, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Havens, and thank you, Mr. Gaines. Let me take a break now. I think we've been going here for a while. So we're going to take a 15-minute recess, and we're going off the record. I wanted to check in with you both. I'm going to have the panel ask some questions for Mr. Gaines when we get back. And then after that, we are have a little bit less than an hour. Should we move to break for the day, or should we start our argument presentations after the break?
We would prefer to break, so we'll have clean argument tomorrow.
Okay, Mr. Havens?
No objection here, Judge.
Okay, so let's take a quick break. We'll get back together, finish our testimony and any questions for our witnesses, and then we will break for the day and return tomorrow. Okay, we are now back on the record. Mr. Antolin, I think we're going to do some questioning of Mr. Gaines, if that works for you. Mr. Gaines, can you hear me?
It's coming up.
Okay, take your time. I'm going to start with Judge Johnson. Do you have any questions for Mr. Gaines?
I have no questions at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Judge Long, are there any questions for Mr. Gaines?
Yes, please. I'm going to start off. I am looking at Franchise Tax Board's Exhibit P. I'll give you a moment to get that in front of you. I would just like to confirm my understanding that this shows the single insurance policy for the 2010 year. Is that correct?
And what was the question? I'm sorry?
Is it just one single insurance policy for 2010 for all of the divisions?
I mean, it doesn't seem possible with so many different factors that you'd have one policy, unless it's a kind of a name of insured. It's got all the different company names. Well, it says it's a general purpose endorsement. I don't know what it means, but it could be what you're saying.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to see if you had any additional context to add. I'll go on to my next question. Let's see. I think this question is actually going to be for Mr. Guandagni, if I may ask you a question. Just to get an idea of a big picture sense, I want to understand if you could estimate roughly how many trucks Western Beverage had versus Western Trucking.
Well, let's see, I think we said we had 30 to 40 drivers on the beverage side, so we would have had roughly about that same amount of equipment, one per driver, so maybe a few spares and things, so probably the 40 to 50 range in beverage delivery vehicles. Transportation, I can't say I know. Obviously, I wasn't involved in that division at that point in time, so it'd be tough to give a good answer there.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
And let me just confirm, I should have included this in my question. That's for the 2010 year, roughly 40 to 50 trucks, you think?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Gaines, would you happen to know roughly how many trucks Western Trucking had in the 2010 year?
Well, if we separate out the towing is about 28 trucks. If we separate out the armored trucks, there were 23 or 24 of those at the time. The local delivery, we call it regional freight delivery, was 15 trucks. And then the over-the-road long-haul division was about 110-ish at that time.
All right, thank you. That concludes my questions.
Thank you, Judge Long. I do have one clarifying question, too, for Mr. Gaines or Mr. Guadagni. Did Western Distributing Company have a corporate advertising or marketing department?
No.
Okay, thank you. Easy peasy. I believe that's all the questions that we have from the panel. Yeah, I was going to say, please, if you wanted to redirect while we have the witnesses here, please go ahead.
Can you hear me? Thanks. Mr. Gaines, so earlier you were asked a question about discounts for employees, and the question asked about discounts for employees and divisions. I want to break that down. Were there discounts provided between divisions on sales to other divisions? In other words, did the divisions give other divisions discounts?
No.
Did they charge the same rates that they would charge third-party customers?
Yes.
Did the divisions, on occasion, give discounts to employees?
Well, I think I mentioned we gave employees an opportunity to buy liquor and wine once a month. They also, employees had the opportunity to have their car or neighbor's car, whoever's car repaired at our auto truck repair shop. So they were allowed, and they got an employee discount to have their vehicle fixed there. I think it was like 10% or something like that.
Thank you. As far as purchasing, you testified that each division had the authority and independence to make their own purchasing decisions. Is that correct?
Yes.
And did they, for everyday purchases, for example, inventory, or to hire a new employee that would join a division, did they need to have pre-approval from the corporate office?
No.
When a division wanted to incur a large purchase, say a truck that cost over $100,000, did they discuss those types of purchases with the corporate office?
Yeah, I guess I said no too quickly on the previous question, because when it comes to a very large purchase, our tow trucks cost between $800,000 and $100,000 to $1 million a piece. So obviously, you just don't go out and buy one of those. It has to, that comes in our yearly planning as to capital expenditures and such, which is discussed between the CFO and the division heads. Large equipment purchases or abnormal type, you know, the day-to-day stuff, no, but when you get into the big stuff, yes.
Thank you, thank you. And earlier you were asked if the transportation division transported Coors beer from Colorado to California. Can you describe what that, if those transactions had anything to do with Western Beverage?
Absolutely not. We're allowed to bid, just like any company can, on moves. Coors usually posts their schedule twice a year. We're allowed to bid on that along with any and every other carrier that wants to, and the loads are awarded to those that have the best price and the best service.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Franchise Tax Board, any other questions for the witnesses?
No, Judge, no other questions.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and check with my panel. Any other questions for the witnesses while they're here? Judge Johnson?
No further questions, thank you.
Okay, and Judge Long?
Yes, I just have
Go
one
ahead.
further question, please. Mr. Gaines, this follows up on the question you were just asked by Mr. Antolin. You said that everyday decisions did not require pre-approval, but large decisions like buying a tow truck would require pre-approval because it's a very expensive purchase. I think you said there was a little over 100 over-the-road trucks. Is that the kind of purchase that's expensive enough to where the company would, the division would have to seek pre-approval?
That's you got a couple different areas there. So in our yearly planning, for example, we know that we go through, we purchase approximately 30 to 40 new over-the-road trucks a year. So basically, if that's what they've planned for, that's what's in their budget, then they have the opportunity to go ahead and do that. That's not arising above and beyond budget. It gets a little more specialized in my example about the large tow truck, only because the dollar amount all of a sudden jump up quite a bit. And in our cash management of the company, we have to be able to budget for these, for those large purchases.
All right, that's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Antolin, any other redirect? Okay. All right, then I think we're finished with your testimony. I want to thank both of you for being here, participating today. We are going to break for today. The hearing will be continued tomorrow at 9 a.m. We are now off the record. And the next hearing will begin, I believe, at 1 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
So we're on tomorrow at 9 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
Okay.